Joining us now is Coach Crutchfield from the Omaha Mavericks, the Summit League champions and NCAA tournament bound for the first time. Coach, how are you this morning?
Good morning, guys. I am fantastic. Thanks for having me on.
Coach, it's been too long, but I full disclosure, I'm so insecure, Coach. The more popular you got, the more I felt like you think I was just hopping on the bandwagon, man. It was easy to talk. It was easy to talk when you first got here, but I was like, man, I don't want to be that guy. Even though I'm ride or die with Omaha from the get go, man.
No
Congratulations,
doubt. Thank you.
congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Coach, I wanted to just start right off the bat here because, I'll be honest. I was a pretty vocal critic of how you were putting this team together. I'm not going to play around with you. And I'll tell you why. I fiercely defend kids coming out of Nebraska and them getting opportunities to play at the next level, right? And so I see him
No doubt.
going. I see him going to other Summit League schools, and I'm seeing you guys in your first couple of years not winning as much as I'd like, and I get a little frustrated, right? And I have to give you a ton of credit because it'd be really easy to listen to idiots like me and not follow through on the vision of what you had for your program. What made you so convicted that this was the right way to do it here?
First of all, let me say this, and I totally understand what you just said, and you wasn't the only one. And I will tell you this: we did recruit a couple of those kids that went other places in our league. We did go after them hard. We offered them, and Omaha wasn't sexy at the time.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's okay. We understood it, but we did our job. We did our due diligence. We just wasn't at a level where those kids thought they could come in here and have fun and have success. Now that will change. That has changed. So, but my conviction was to do it this way, and we stayed with the plan from day one. And I would have loved to have some Omaha kids, but we was able to get 3 or 4 kids in the portal. We was able to get another junior college kid, and we got older really fast.
Yeah.
From year 2 to year 3, we got old really fast, and I think that made a difference in our team based on what we went through in the non-conference schedule.
Coach, it's so interesting to watch this thing kind of unfold because I remember the times where, and this wasn't that long ago. I remember then your coach Crandall, I was doing some signings for some stuff that you guys needed for a fundraiser and an auction, and he brought him over to me when I was working with Gary, and he had this young man in the truck, and he had just come back from the airport. He was coming back fresh from Georgia. He said, "Hey, I want you to, this is JJ White, this is Coach Benning, this, that, and the third." And so I just kind of picked his brain. I'm talking to him through across the cab in the truck. This is when he first got here, right? And he says, I'm kind of picking his brain. I want to know about his story, and all he kept getting back to me, I just want to compete. I'm just competitive. I just want to compete. It was like the same thing that he kept saying on repeat. And then I watched the evolution and kind of how the role changed this year and assuming the role. And I watch you two go back and forth with your interactions. There's no doubt he has a ton of respect for you. There's no doubt you have a ton of respect for him. But it's all love because you guys both compete, man. Like, I got to go back to that because that's all he's talked about. And I look at how this team has grown. And he's kind of just the epitome of the story, right? Just competitive stamina, regardless of what's going on.
That's exactly him. And I don't know if anybody know. I'm sure this story will get out of here pretty soon before we leave to go to the tournament. But we go back, JJ and I go back to high school days. Like, he was a freshman on the high school team back in Norman, Oklahoma with my kids. And I've watched them, grow and mature. And I mean, I used to get on his butt. I was an assistant at Oklahoma, and he was a sophomore in high school. I used to get on his butt about body language and not having a good attitude. And this is in high school. And I moved around a little bit, stayed connected because his family and my family are close. But when it was time for him to come here, he had no other offers. I mean, he had just finished his freshman year at Kobe Junior College out in Kansas, and he had no offers. I got the job. We were looking for a point guard. And I'll be honest with you, now he knows this, I wasn't 100% sold on him. at that time.
Yeah.
And he ended up coming through on a visit, and he got here, he loved it, and I told him, this is the things that we're looking for. This is what you're going to have to do to really play here. And I've been hard on that kid, Damon, for 3 years. I've been
Yeah.
hard on him because I know him.
Yeah.
He's like a son to me.
Yeah.
And you know that relationship.
Yeah.
So I've pushed him to a place of where I've never pushed anybody else. And this year he's really grown up, man, and he is a competitor.
One of the
And
first.
that's all we talk about. That's all we talk about every day is playing hard and competing. And they've done it. They've done it.
Talking to some of the guys in the community, even when you first got here, one of the things that everybody said was, he's such a good guy. He loves people. He loves kids, and he's going to love the university. And we use it in other terms sometimes. When I just said this about Coach Rule the other day. I said, it's the first coach in a long time that has a vision for the university and loves the university, kind of that exceeds what we think about it. And it's just refreshing. I get that sense when you're back home, and I know it's your alma mater, and I know this is kind of where you have your roots, but your sincerity for Omaha and the university and the kids, you hear it in almost every interview you do promoting your basketball program. Like that relationship that you feel, your players have to feel it too, right? You don't go from year 1 to year 3 without being as other-centered as you guys appear to be.
And I talk about it, man. We're very intentional as a staff about, certain things we say to them. And I tell them how much I love this school, how much this school changed my life when I got here, and the people that poured into me. And that's why I stayed around and went to grad school. And, that's why I've always kept a pulse on this program. And when the opportunity did come back, I jumped at it. And everybody know, I would have came here for 2 nickels. It wouldn't have been about whatever. And I would have came back just because I knew what this place could be. And my wife is from Omaha.
Mm-hmm.
All her family is from Omaha. So,
Mm-hmm.
so this is a special place for me. And I wanted us to win. I wanted to make sure people knew you can win here. We have some things we could sell. And I guess I get emotional because I'm in cry mode right now. So,
it's okay.
everything comes up, I cry all the time.
Yeah.
I cried this morning in the car driving, on a phone call with somebody that I hadn't talked to in a while. So it's just stuff like that this time that I'm really emotional, just because the plan, the vision that we had, it came to fruition.
2 things, because now you're gonna and people know that. Listen, like, the only thing I'm good at is being emotional. So listen here, I'm here for it. 2 things. Number one, there's 2. Administration is always important. Administration's vision is always important. I've had time to sit down and talk with Adrian. We've had lunch. He's somebody that I think very highly of. You surrounded yourself with the staff you've built. I'm very good friends with Brian Page, who you have invested in your staff. When you talk about leadership and administration, how important was it for you guys, where you were trying to go, to surround yourself with like-minded people?
It was very important, and I made that a comment, during my press conference, like the alignment between your athletic director and the head coach, then the alignment between your chancellor and the athletic director.
Hey, she's a gem, isn't she? She is an
is
absolute gem.
I love her from day one. She has been in my corner from day one.
Yep.
Even my first year here, when we wasn't very good, she called me over to her office one day. I remember this. I think we might have been 3-12.
Yeah.
And she brought me over to her office. I said, okay, this lady's going to fire me already. So I went into the office, halfway nervous, halfway excited. And she handed me this framed picture of me at my press conference. And she had got it framed and had a little note on it. She said, I just want you to know that the first year is hard, and I understand it, but I want you to know that we got your back.
Mm. Mm.
And that did it all for me right there. I knew right then and there that we was going to get this place turned around. We was going to get it going because I had the backing of all the people that made all the important decisions.
Go ahead. Oh, I was going to say, how about the vision? Right, I know this conference fairly well, and I've watched how you've built this team, and this was from talking to Gary a little bit too, because I remember after, I can't remember what game it was, and I said, "Hey, what kind of like what's going on here with kind of the growth versus the roster?" And he was like, DB, you can look at the size and length, which is what I first noticed. I'm like, I remember, you're very strict with the metrics and kind of how you want guys to be built. And he
Mm-hmm.
said you have to give it time in the summit because we're going to roll the dice that we're just going to be different than everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
And sure enough, we watch you guys, whether it's on television or in person, it's your ability to guard, defend, switch, be multiple. It is vastly different than what anybody else in the league is. I mean, KC's close, but they're not as skilled as you guys are, so you kind of have their number. But is that what you envisioned with how to do things differently when you're trying to cast the vision?
No doubt, no doubt. We and I've been doing this for a long time, Damon. I've seen good teams, I've seen bad teams. I've been in big leagues, small leagues, and I've told our staffs that this is where we have to get to.
Mm.
We can't copycat another team in the summit. This is how we're going to win. We're going to be different, but we can attract these kind of athletes in Omaha.
Yep.
A lot of places can't get these type of players. So I wanted 6'5", 6'6" wings that had +4, +5 wingspans. I wanted big, powerful, low base guys in the post that can anchor down and defend and can hold a post position. Whether you're skilled or not, I didn't care, but I wanted big girth and guys that was physical and guys that was tough.
Mm.
Then I needed quick, agile guards that could do everything, that can pass, dribble, and shoot. And we just blended it all together. You got to have about 3 or 4 shooters on your roster. I mean, guys that can flat out shoot the basketball. We got that. And then the scheme was we're going to switch 1 through 4.
Yeah. Yes, you do.
And we're going to get up and harass people and use our athleticism, use our length. We're going to switch ball screens, and sometimes we might do something different with our 5-man on ball screens. But we had the talent and the athleticism to do a lot of different things defensively. So we was able to do it, and it worked in our league, and it really caused some problems for people in our league.
It's just amazing how you can turn people's lights out defensively. I mean, they just go through these crazy. And St. Thomas has tried it a couple of times, and they clutch and touch and grab, and it's just like this. You can't out Omaha these guys.
I love it. That's a good phrase right there. I'm gonna start using that.
You have to get that on some shirts, Coach.
They tried, and they eventually got frustrated. They were fortunate the game was called kind of the way it was earlier. It would have got worse earlier than that because I'm like, you're not gonna beat them at their game, and then they started to rush, and you see ghosts because you're not usually open, and even when you are, you were sped up. That was fantastic. I'm just trying to figure out how you got them to dial in, knowing that it was already a foregone conclusion that you were playing the championship, you were going to be in the dance, and you got better as the game went on.
Well, I say this, and our team know this because I love Kelvin Sampson, guys. He's like I idolize Kelvin Sampson, and I talk about him. I show video to our guys of Houston, and I show video of him talking about their team and how competitive they are, how hard they play, and we kind of mimic what they do a little bit. We don't have quite the athletes they have, but we try to imitate what they do, and we've gotten close to it. But at the same time, I just think our guys, if you're competitors, you're going to try to compete every time you get a chance to.
Yeah.
And we told them that night we knew we was in Saturday night, and after the game was over, we all met in the conference in the hotel meeting room, and we talked about what do you guys want. You're in. Our goal was to get to the NCAA tournament. You're in. But our goal was to come to Sioux Falls and be the tournament champions, right? So you still got another game to play to get to your goal. So if you want to go into the NCAA tournament and put an asterisk by it and be happy, that's fine too. A lot of people still be happy, but we're not built like that. We built to go win it. And they all was like, "You right, coach. We good. And they all left the room. And next morning we met and started game planning for St. Thomas, and the rest is history.
Coach, so I can tell. I know this is the first time you and I have got a chance to talk, but we're going to be able to ride together because we both ride for Omaha, right? Like that's
No doubt.
we're going to be able to ride together. I got to ask though. So early in the year, you guys you played some marquee games. You know, you play your Minnesota, you play your Iowa State, you play UNLV. But you had some games in there against kind of like opponents that you struggled with early on. You get off to that slow start in non-conference play. Like, how do you turn the switch from losing to like a Southern Utah at an Alabama State to be able to flip that over and be as dominant as you were in the Summit League through the course of the season?
We just kept them going. And I want to give announcement to Rob Jeter. Rob Jeter's head coach at Southern Utah.
Yeah.
And we go play Vegas, and we played them close. Could have won the game, right? Okay, so we jump on the bus, drive 2 hours to 6,000 feet elevation to Southern Utah to play Southern Utah. And was bad. Altitude got us. And after the end of the game, he came and gave me a big old hug because we're friends. We know each other. He said, "Crutch, you have enough talent to win that league." He said, "I know you don't feel good about it now, but you got enough talent to win the league." Okay, we go on, shake hands. And I end up meeting him back in the foyer later after the game was over, after we did our media stuff. And he said, "I'm just telling you that there's no other team in your league, in that league like that." And he knew because he was at Western Illinois. And I called him the other day and I said, "You was right. We just had to get our stuff together." And it took us a while to gel. But I'm thankful that those guys went through what they went through in the non-con because it made us tougher and it's brought us together to be ready to go on and run like we did in the Summit League.
And it paid dividends too. I just watched them yesterday against Utah Tech, and that's a good basketball team, right? That's just one of those things where, I mean, people may see a name or something like that, and there's this immediate perception that comes to mind. But again, a team very similar, long, athletic, can defend and get up and down. It's hard to win. I don't care, but it just is. I'm an ACC fan. I look at the conference. It's not very good, Crutch, and I'm like, it's just hard to win basketball games.
So check this out. After the Abilene Christian game, which is probably one of our worst games of the year.
I think that was when I talked to Gary too, by the way.
We come back home. We play Abilene Christian. We don't show up. We don't play. And I get home that night and I walk through the door. My wife, she didn't even stay around to say hello after the game was over with. So that's how mad she was. She said, I thought you said we had a chance to be good. I said, "We are. Don't worry. Just take a little time." I just start packing some boxes.
I was like, can't catch any breaks at home either, Coach.
The only thing you need to pack now is your bags for your destination, man. And enjoy the Sunday, man, with the fellas and the staff. And man, Coach, super proud of you.
Fun. Well, you make sure you have your face in the building, okay?
You got it.
Coach,
okay.
we appreciate the time, and congratulations on a well-deserved Coach of the Year and on being Summit League champs. Can't wait to see you guys go dancing.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate the time.
Appreciate it, Coach.
Thanks for having me on. Thank you.